The bleeding sky. The storm came fast. Red lightning cracked across the sky of Varelia 9, a dead world full of broken machines and silent bones. Jack Arden, a young human medic, stood alone near the edge of the crater. Wind howled. Dust blew into his eyes. His hands gripped the scanner tight. He had seen the beacon. It wasn't a human signal. The outpost had picked it up only an hour ago, a weak pulse, repeating every 7 seconds, coming from the ruins of an old alien city. No one else volunteered. Jack said he'd check it out himself. He didn't know why. Maybe it was boredom. Maybe it was something else. Now, as he climbed, over the twisted metal of a fallen alien tower, Jack saw a shape in the rubble. It was small. It was breathing. He ran. The closer he got, the stranger it looked. A girl, but not human. Her skin was pale silver, almost glowing in the dark. Thin, lines like tiny wires ran along her arms and neck. Her eyes were closed. Her body shook with each breath. She was bleeding. Violet liquid oozed from her side, soaking the ground beneath her. A piece of jagged metal was lodged near her ribs. "Don't move," Jack said, kneeling. "I'm here to help." Her lips moved, slightly. She tried to speak, but no sound came out. Jack reached into his kit and pulled out a small medical scanner. The screen flashed red. Blood loss was extreme. She wouldn't survive long. "Come on," Jack whispered. "Stay with me." There were no transfusion packs for alien blood. His tools were for humans, maybe some known species. But she wasn't one of them. He had never seen anything like her. Then she opened her eyes. They were bright, glowing white, like stars. Jack gasped. Her hand reached up, weak and shaking. She touched his chest. A burning pain shot through him. His vision blurred. Suddenly, he saw something. A city. Tall towers of crystal, flying ships, music in the air, then screaming. Fire. Shadows falling from the sky. Soldiers in dark armor. Blood on white stone. Then it was gone. Jack blinked. He was back in the crater. The girl's hand dropped. Her eyes closed again. The scanner beeped wildly. Jack looked down at his hand. It was shaking. He had seen her memories. How was that possible? He stared at her, heart racing. She was dying, and he didn't have the tools to save her. Unless... He hesitated. Then he reached for a small needle in his bag. "This is crazy," he said. "But if it works..." He drew blood from his own arm. Then, using a field filter, he adjusted the basic plasma level to reduce shock. He had no idea if her body would accept it, but if he did nothing, she would die. He connected the tube. Her chest rose slowly. The purple around her wound stopped spreading. The bleeding slowed. Her eyes opened again. She looked at him. Not just with her eyes, but like she was inside him. "You gave me life," she whispered. Jack stared. "Can you understand me?" "You are marked," she said softly. Then her body glowed briefly. A symbol, like a star with curved arms, lit up on her forehead. Jack felt a burning on his own chest. He cried out and tore open his shirt. A glowing mark just like hers was appearing on his skin just above his heart. "What is this?" he gasped. The girl's voice was faint but clear. "Now you carry the bond. You are the first." Before he could ask more, she passed out. Jack reached for his communicator. "Outpost, this is Arden. I need an emergency pickup. I have a survivor. Non-human critical condition." There was a pause. "Copy that, Arden," came the reply. "Hold position. Shuttle en route." Jack sat there, heart pounding. His hand pressed to the mark on his chest. It still burned slightly. He looked down at the strange girl lying next to him. The mark that spoke Jack Arden didn't sleep that night. The medics had taken the alien girl, strapped her down, wrapped in containment bands, and moved her into the isolation wing of the outpost's infirmary. Jack watched the whole thing from behind a security panel, his arms crossed, heart pounding. shirt still open where the glowing mark sat pulsing softly on his chest. He had tried to cover it. Bandages, ointments, even a cooling patch. But nothing dulled the strange warmth beneath his skin. It didn't hurt anymore, but it never stopped moving, like it was alive. They ran every scan on him, blood tests, retina scans, neural activity mapping. The AI assistant in the medbay flagged his DNA profile as compromised. His human genetic code was now reading with a 0.02% deviation, insignificant to most, but enough for the system to trigger a level 2 quarantine. He wasn't allowed. Back into his quarters. "You're not infected," said Dr. Rellan, the head of Outpost Medical, frowning as he scrolled through the data. "But you're not entirely human anymore either. That girl did something to you." Jack looked at the glowing mark again. "She called it a bond." The doctor raised an eyebrow. "It's more than that. Your neural signature spiked when you made contact with her. That symbol, it's burned into your epidermis. There's no sign of external trauma. It's like it grew out of your cells." Jack didn't reply. He couldn't explain the feeling. It wasn't just physical. Since the moment the girl touched him, he'd felt like he was never truly alone in his mind. Again. There were echoes sometimes, emotions that weren't his own, thoughts drifting in languages he couldn't understand, then vanishing before he could hold on to them. Later that evening, long after the medbay lights dimmed, Jack sat alone in the observation room, watching her sleep behind the sealed glass. She looked so different now. Her skin no longer glowed faintly, but it shimmered with life as if some hidden circuitry beneath her flesh had rebooted. Her wounds had sealed. The strange wires along her body, thin and delicate like plant roots, were slowly reknitting into her muscles. And then, just past midnight, her eyes opened. Jack leaned closer to the glass. She blinked once, slowly, and then turned her head. She saw him. There was no fear in her expression, only calm recognition. Then her lips moved. He couldn't hear her through the glass, but he knew exactly what she was saying. "Marked." Jack stood, frozen. The lights above flickered for a moment, then steadied. His chest burned softly again. The glass door opened with a sharp hiss. Dr. Rellan's voice buzzed through the comm panel. "She's requesting to speak with you directly. Alone." "You're sure that's safe?" "We're not sure of anything," came the dry reply. "But she hasn't shown any aggression, and she hasn't spoken a single word to any of us. Until now." Jack stepped inside. The air smelled different in the isolation room. Cleaner somehow. The moment he crossed the threshold, he felt the connection again, that invisible thread tightening in the space between them. She sat up in the bed, her white eyes locked on him. "I am Elira," she said quietly. Her voice was soft, melodic, almost like a song buried in words. "And you are Jack Arden." He blinked. "How do you know my name?" "You gave me your blood," she replied. "In the bond I saw your name, your face, your choices. You opened a door and I walked through it." Jack swallowed. "What are you?" "I am Averin," she said. "Or, I was. My people are gone. I am the last." Jack pulled up a chair. "You said I'm marked. What does that mean?" Elira looked at him with something like sadness. "The mark is ancient. It is not a weapon. It is not a sickness. It is a key. And you are the first human it has ever accepted." Jack leaned forward. "Accepted for what?" "To carry a voice that was lost," she whispered. "To see what only the bond can show. To feel more than one life at a time." He shook his head. "You're saying I can read minds now?" "No," she said. "Not minds. Truth. Our kind once walked through each other's memories like rivers. We could speak in thoughts and echoes, but the wars ended that. We fell, and now the mark sleeps, until you woke it." Jack felt a chill creep up his spine. "You're saying your people are dead?" She nodded. "Hunted, wiped out. Our bond marks, seen as threats. I fled into the stars to protect the last code of my kind. I thought I would die with it." She looked down at her hands, glowing faintly again. Then you came. The silence between them stretched. Jack asked the question he had been dreading. So what happens to me now? Elira looked up. You change. Before he could respond, a loud alarm blared through the outpost. Red lights flashed. A voice echoed over the speakers. Unidentified ships entering orbit. Multiple signatures. Possible hostile approach. Jack and Elira both stood. She turned toward the ceiling, eyes shining brighter now. They found me, she whispered. And now they'll come for you too. Forbidden memory, Jack Arden awoke choking on stars. It wasn't a dream, at least not the kind he'd known before. This was too vivid, too real. He stood on a high tower under a swirling violet sky, wind rushing past him like it was alive. Below, a vast city shimmered, tall spires of crystal, floating walkways shining silver lights that pulsed like heartbeats. People, tall, elegant, glowing faintly, moved like water through the streets. Music echoed from the towers, soft and wordless. He felt peace, a kind of ancient calm. Then, fire. Without warning, the sky cracked open. Great black vessels descended like predators, dropping energy bombs that tore through the towers in streaks of white-hot light. People screamed, buildings crumbled into ash. Jack's chest ached. He tried to move, but his legs were heavy as if caught in time. He saw soldiers in dark armor rush through the streets, dragging Everan citizens into chains. He turned his head and saw Elira, a younger version of her, standing in a courtyard, holding a small child. Tears streamed down her glowing face. The dream shifted again. A hand reached through the chaos, Elira's hand grabbing his wrist. Her voice echoed in his head like thunder wrapped in silk. You weren't meant to see this. Jack gasped and shot upright. He was back in his temporary quarters, the mark on his chest burning hotter than ever. Sweat dripped from his brow. He sat still, heart pounding, staring at the darkness in the room as if something was still there, watching. That was the second night in a row he'd dreamed of Elira's past, and each time it was clearer, longer, and more violent. Only now did he realize they weren't dreams. They were memories. Hers. And the worst part? He hadn't just seen them. He'd felt them. The pain of betrayal. The hopelessness of running. The sound of a city dying forever. It lived in his bones now. The door to his quarters hissed open before he could catch his breath. Elira stood there, glowing softly in the hallway, her expression unreadable. She didn't ask permission to enter. She simply walked in, her bare feet silent on the metal floor. You saw it again, she said quietly. Jack didn't answer right away. He just nodded, still clutching his chest. What was that place? He asked. Avaris, she replied. My home, the last stronghold of my kind. Jack looked up. And the people in black armor? Her eyes darkened. The Sindari Dominion, they feared the bond, said our memories were weapons. They destroyed every Avaran city across the stars. My family was among the first to fall. Jack's voice was bitter. But why am I seeing this? I didn't ask to be dragged into your past. She turned toward him. Because the bond chose you. Jack stood now, frustration boiling to the surface. You say that like I should be grateful. I'm not even sure I'm fully human anymore. I can't sleep, I can't think straight. I feel like half of me belongs to you and I don't even know what that means. Elira didn't flinch. You are the first in 1,000 years to survive a bond mark. Most die within minutes, but you live. You carry part of me now, and through you I carry part of your kind. Jack stared. You're saying you're human now? She smiled faintly. A little. I have your pain, your fear. I know what your mother's voice sounds like. I know the day your brother died. I know you used to walk alone on frozen lakes to feel free. Jack fell silent. He hadn't told anyone that, not even the AI on his old ship. But more than that, she continued, I know what kind of man you are, and you're stronger than you think. A voice buzzed from the outpost's intercom. All personnel to the command deck, now. Jack and Elira exchanged a look. They rushed through the steel corridors of the outpost, lights flashing red. The moment they stepped onto the command deck, they saw the holographic display. 3 unknown vessels in orbit, sleek, jet black with glowing red edges. No response to hails, no communication. They're Sindari, Elira said quietly. How do you know? Jack asked. Because they're not here for war, she said. They're here for me. Commander Brell turned to Jack, eyes sharp. That girl's your responsibility, Arden. You brought her here. Now we've got 3 alien ships about to make landfall, and I've got no clue what they want. You better tell me right now. What did you bring into my outpost? Before Jack could speak, Elira stepped forward. Her voice rang clear. You are right to be afraid. They will not stop until they have erased me. But they will not stop with me. He, she pointed at Jack, is now a carrier of the soul code. They will hunt him too. What the hell is a soul code? Brell demanded, but Elira didn't answer. Instead, the outpost lights went dark. For 3 full seconds, silence reigned. Then came a whisper, spoken not through speakers, but directly into every mind present. Surrender, the marked ones, or your outpost becomes ash. Jack clenched his fists. The memories were no longer just haunting him. They were becoming real. He looked at Elira, then at the frightened faces around him. He had one thought. If this is the price for saving her, then so be it. The burned sky packed. The first blast hit just before dawn. It wasn't loud, not like the old Earth wars with their thunder and fire. This was quiet destruction, a high-pitched pulse, almost a whisper, followed by the tearing of the sky. One of the Sindari ships fired a particle beam that carved straight through the outpost's orbital shield. The sky split like paper, and a blue-white line of energy struck the southern landing pad, vaporizing everything in a flash of light. Jack didn't have time to scream. He only had time to move. He threw himself over Elira as the shockwave hit the ground. The walls shook. Lights burst overhead, alarms screamed. The air filled with smoke and static. People ran in every direction, shouting orders, dragging injured crew to safety. Jack's heart slammed in his chest as he pulled Elira behind cover. Now what? He shouted. Elira's face was calm, her glowing eyes sharp with purpose. Now I end this. Before he could stop her, she stepped out into the open hallway and raised her hand. A soft humming sound grew louder. The mark on Jack's chest burned so bright it shone through his shirt. Across from him, Elira's skin glowed with pulsing white lines. Then she spoke, not with her voice but with her mind. Jack felt it hit like a wave. It was raw power, ancient, electric, alive. The Sindari ship above the outpost froze in the sky. All around the outpost, enemy soldiers, sleek metallic beings with crimson visors, stopped in mid-motion, their bodies twitching like puppets with cut strings. Then their visors cracked, and one by one, they fell. No sound, no warning, just silence and death. Elira collapsed to her knees. Jack rushed to her side. What the hell was that? She was shaking, her breathing shallow. A last resort. A psychic burst encoded in the Everan bloodline. I never used it before. It was. Meant to protect the last voice if we were found. Jack stared in shock at the destruction. The Sindari were gone, disarmed without a fight. You killed them all? Only those within reach, she whispered. The rest will come. And stronger than before. Commander Brell, bleeding from a wound on his arm, limped into the corridor, eyes wide. What is she? Jack stood slowly. She's not a weapon. She's a survivor. No, Elira said weakly. Not anymore. She turned her head and looked directly into Jack's eyes. I used your blood to rewrite the code buried in me. The bond mark connected our species. You didn't just save my life, you reactivated an ancient gene, one that was never meant to wake again. Jack felt cold. What does that mean? He asked. Elira pressed her palm to his chest. The mark glowed again, brighter now. Then she showed him. Not with words, not with sound, but with memory. He was inside a mountain of living metal, walking between walls made of thought. Lights pulsed like nerves. Symbols danced in the air. This was no city. It was a vault. An Everan vault, built long before humans walked upright, buried deep in a forgotten world. And inside that vault something waited. Something massive. Something alive. The memory ended. Jack staggered back. You want me to go there? He said. It is calling you, Alira said. Because of the mark. Because you're the first human to carry a living Everan code. The vault will open only for one who carries both lines. Brel shook his head. You want him to walk into some ancient tomb based on a dream? Alira stood, her strength returning slowly. Not a tomb, a bridge between what was and what could be. Jack looked down at his hands. I never asked for this, he said. No, Alira replied gently. But you didn't run from it either. Jack looked at the smoke rising outside the outpost windows. The sky was still red, still bleeding, but the silence had changed. For the first time, the fear wasn't his. It was theirs. The Sindari had come for one girl, one memory, one ghost of a race they tried to wipe out. They hadn't expected a human to stand in the way. Jack made his decision then, not with courage, but with clarity. I'll go, he said, to the vault. But not because I believe in your history. I'll go because I want answers. And if what's in that place can end this, then we need to reach it before they do. Alira smiled, tired but proud. Commander Brel stared at him like he'd gone insane. But Jack didn't care anymore. He was already half something else, and now the other half was burning to find out what came next. The Everan vault, they arrived at the dead world in silence. The ship, a stolen Sindari scout vessel, cut through the void like a silent blade, cloaked in shadows and powered by stolen energy. Jack Arden stood at the viewport, staring down at the desert planet below. It had no name on human charts, no orbiting stations, no satellites, just a barren sphere of cracked earth and orange storms, but Alira knew it. Avaris K, she whispered. The silent womb. Jack turned to her. You're sure the vault's here? I don't remember it, she said. But the mark does. Our bond feeds the memory directly. What you saw, the living metal, the lights, the songs in the stone, it wasn't a dream. It's waiting for you. Jack had stopped questioning the impossible. Ever since he bonded with Alira, his reality had peeled open like an old skin. He dreamed in alien memories. He bled with foreign DNA. And when he touched her hand, his thoughts echoed twice, once in his mind and again in hers. He didn't feel entirely human anymore. But strangely, he didn't feel lost either. The ship landed in the heart of a storm-ravaged valley. Wind howled across endless dunes, and the ground crackled with old energy like static trapped in dry bones. Lightning twisted across the sky in spirals instead of forks. The land was broken, yes, but not dead. It was waiting. Jack stepped off the ship first, boots sinking into fine red sand. It felt warm, not from heat, but from memory. Like the world, itself recognized him. Alira joined him in silence, her gaze steady. Together they walked toward a jagged ridge in the distance, where the winds parted around a half-buried structure of glassy black stone. It jutted from the earth like a blade frozen mid-swing. Jack's heart beat faster with every step. The closer they came, the louder the whispers became. He wasn't imagining them. They tickled the edge of his hearing, faint, echoing voices that spoke in a language he didn't know but understood anyway. They called him Keyblood. They called him Bearer. They called him Final. The entrance revealed itself as a wide arch shaped like a sleeping eye. The stone around it pulsed faintly with lines of blue light. Dead for eons, now slowly waking. When Jack placed his palm on the arch, the mark on his chest flared. The doorway split open without a sound. Inside, the air was still, but dense, like walking into a space that had never truly been empty. The walls glowed faintly with soft geometric patterns forming and fading like breath. The deeper they walked, the more alive the place felt. Not machine alive, but conscious. Jack whispered, without realizing it. "This place is where watching us." Elira nodded. "The Averin built it not just to store memories, but to protect them. This is a soul vault, a sanctuary for all that we were. Every memory, every voice, every choice, preserved in living architecture." Jax stopped. "And what happens when I reach the core?" Elira hesitated. "If the bond accepts your presence, it will offer you a choice, a gift, or a warning." That didn't make him feel better. They reached the heart of the vault, an enormous chamber filled with pillars of liquid light. They didn't cast shadows. They drank them. In the center, a sphere hovered, clear, radiant, humming in perfect harmony. The moment Jack stepped into the chamber, the sphere expanded. Threads of light reached for him, not touching, just scanning, recognizing, remembering. Then the voice came, not Elira's, not human, something ancient, layered, and vast. "You are not Averin. Yet you carry the song of two bloods. You were not born for this place, yet you have come. You are the echo after silence." Jack's chest burned as the mark pulsed harder than ever. He fell to one knee. Visions flooded his mind. He saw a galaxy before the fall, millions of worlds, connected by memory. He saw the war, Sindari forces burning planets to erase the Averin soul code. He saw an Averin council, desperate, authorizing a final plan, to hide one living thread of their history inside the smallest vault. A girl. A child. Their memories encoded in her blood, sealed with a dormant mark. And then, he saw himself, bleeding, giving life, binding the past to the present. Jack was the key, not because he was special, but because he acted with compassion, not calculation. He gave without understanding. He saved Elira when she was a stranger, and so the vault recognized him. The sphere collapsed into itself. In its place, a small crystal, no bigger than his thumb, floated into his hand. It glowed faintly. "What is it?" Jack whispered. Elira stood beside him now. Her eyes were full of awe. "The Averin seed," she said. "A library, a mind, a living code. With it, you could restore an empire, or destroy one." Jack stared at it. It felt heavier than any weapon he'd ever held, not in weight, but in consequence. Behind them, the walls of the vault pulsed again. But now they pulsed with warning. The Sindari had arrived. Blood betrayal, the vault shook like it was alive and terrified. Dust poured from the ceiling as the ancient structure groaned, reacting to something that did not belong. Jack spun around, clutching the glowing Averin seed in his palm. Behind him, the chamber lights dimmed, flickered, then turned a shade of red he hadn't seen before. Not warning, not danger, but something more primal. Something ancient and angry. "Elira," he said, breath tight. "They're inside." She nodded. "The vault is closing its pathways. It's trying to protect us." Jack turned back to the crystal in his hand. It pulsed once, then went still, not dead but dormant, waiting. "We have to move," Elira said. They sprinted back down the glowing corridor, vault walls shifting behind them like a maze sealing itself off. As they ran, Jack heard it. Metal feet pounding the stone-like floor. The Sindari had breached the perimeter faster than expected, moving like wolves in a tomb, no longer hunting but reclaiming. But then something worse happened. Elira stumbled. Jack turned in time to catch her as she collapsed, her skin flickering with static, her breath shallow. Her mark, once glowing bright, was dim now, as though drained. "What's happening to you?" he asked, panic rising. She looked at him with strange, glassy eyes. "The bond, it's shifting." Jack laid her down gently. "What do you mean, shifting?" Elira's voice was fragile now. The seed. It recognized you fully. It chose you, not me. That was never supposed to happen. Jack's heart skipped. What are you talking about? You said the seed was the last hope of your people. That I was meant to carry it. Her gaze dropped. I lied. Silence fell between them, sharp and immediate. Jack stared. What? I was never meant to survive, she whispered. The Everend designed me to carry the last code, to protect it until it found a new host. Your blood wasn't just a rescue. It was a trigger, a key. I was supposed to guide it, to you, and then fade. He pulled back, disbelief and fury colliding behind his eyes. You used me. You let me believe we were equals in this, that we were bonded. We were, she said softly, but the bond was never meant to be permanent. I didn't expect it to grow this deep. I didn't expect to feel what you feel. I didn't expect to want to live. Jack's breath trembled in his chest. So what happens now? I don't know, she said. The code is in you. The seed accepted you fully. I am what remains. But the Sindari won't care. They'll kill me anyway. And they'll carve the seed from your bones if they have to. Jack stood, his jaw clenched. No, he said. They won't. The vault walls shifted one last time. And then the corridor ahead split open like a curtain, revealing the outside world. A wave of heat and wind struck him in the face. The sun over Avaris K was bleeding red. The sky shimmered with descending black ships, their hulls glowing with hate. Lines of Sindari soldiers poured into the valley, their weapons aimed, their movements efficient. And then, time slowed. The mark on Jack's chest flared with impossible heat. And suddenly, he understood everything. He didn't see battle plans or enemy weaknesses. He saw memory. Thousands of them. Every Averan who had ever bonded, ever died, ever loved. Their thoughts came to him as whispers, as colors, as emotions without names. He felt children playing on floating bridges. He felt mothers hiding there, young before the cities burned. He felt generals laying down arms, choosing peace, and among them, he felt Elira. Her presence flickered in his mind like a dying star. Not gone, not yet, but slipping away. She had given everything. He turned to her, pale, shaking, holding on with only her will. You don't have to fade, he said. She smiled weakly. I already am. No, Jack said, voice low and final. Not if I give something back. He reached for her hand, and the moment their skin met, the seed responded. It pulsed once, then burst. Light filled the chamber, pure, blinding white light that reached up into the sky and into the ships above. The Sindari vessels froze mid-air. The soldiers stopped, mid-step. Their systems scrambled, their neural links shattered. Jack didn't see it, but he felt it. For a moment, he was the seed, and in that moment he made a choice. Not to destroy, not to conquer, but to share. The seed didn't just store memories, it transmitted them, across the stars, across time. In that instant, every Sindari mind linked into the network, military, civilian, command, felt what Jack had felt. The pain, the genocide, the betrayal. The Everend truth poured into their systems, bypassing firewalls, bypassing armor. There was no counterattack. There was only silence. When the light faded, Jack collapsed. The seed was gone. And Elira, breathed deeply again, her glow returning. She wasn't fading anymore. The bond had changed. It was no longer one soul giving way for another. It was two lives standing together. Through a gift beyond blood, the stars were silent now. For the first time in weeks, Jack Arden stood beneath a sky untouched by fire. The red sun of Avaris K had dimmed to a soft amber, casting long shadows across the cooling valley. Sindari ships hung frozen in orbit, powered down, engines offline, not destroyed but quiet, as though the war had been drained from their very bones. No sirens, no weapons, no fear, just silence, and something like peace. Jack sat on a rocky ledge overlooking the ruins of the Evaran vault. His body felt heavier than ever, but not from exhaustion. From weight, the weight of memory, of choices, of thousands of voices now woven into his own. He wasn't just Jack Arden, human medic anymore. He was the carrier. The Evaran seed had changed him, not into something more than human, but into something whole. Where once he was one man with one past, now he was the keeper of an entire people's legacy, their grief, their wisdom, their hope, and across from him, Elira lived. She sat quietly, her silver hair catching the sun, her body slowly recovering. The glow had returned to her skin, not the artificial shimmer of a weaponized relic, but a natural warmth, like a sunrise breaking through ash. "I thought you were gone," Jack said, his voice rough. Elira looked at him. "You brought me back, not with power, with remembrance. You didn't just carry the seed, you understood it." Jack nodded slowly. The Sindari saw everything. They felt it, all the pain they caused. The destruction. I didn't have to fight them, I just had to show them. They were never taught to remember, Elira said. Only to erase. There was a long pause. Then Jack pulled something from his pocket. A tiny sphere, no bigger than a pearl, pale blue, softly glowing. It was what remained of the seed's energy, a dormant fragment that had returned to him after the transmission. "The vault is gone," he said. "But this still exists. A piece of it. I don't know what it wants now, but I think it's listening." Elira reached out and gently touched the sphere. Her eyes closed for a moment. When they opened again, she looked different, calmer, steadier. "It's waiting for you to decide." Jack looked at the sky. "I could bring it back to Earth, share the tech, the memories, all the healing Evaran medicine, energy systems that don't burn worlds, cities that float, that sing. Or," Elira added, "you could bury it again, keep it hidden, let it rest." Jack considered that. He thought of Earth, of greedy CEOs and fractured governments, of hungry empires disguised as democracies, of how easily great gifts became tools of war, weapons wrapped in hope. But he also thought of his sister, who died from a disease that Earth still couldn't cure. He thought of the orphans he treated on mining colonies. He thought of standing in front of a dying alien girl and bleeding for her without knowing her name. He didn't believe Earth deserved the seed, but maybe Earth needed it. "I won't give them the weapon," Jack said, "but I'll give them the wisdom. I'll teach them what I saw. I'll show them what the Evaran lost and why." Elira smiled. "Then you are more Evaran than I ever was." He laughed softly. "No, I'm still human, still angry, still messy." "Then maybe," she said, "you're exactly what the galaxy needs." They sat there for a long time, letting the wind carry the silence between them. When the human ship arrived, weeks later, Jack was ready. They came cautiously, expecting a hostile zone. Instead, they found Sindari soldiers disarmed, meditating, in circles outside their ships. They found alien commanders requesting peaceful talks. They found Jack Arden standing with a being once considered myth, Elira of Ivaris, and they found the beginnings of something new. Jack returned to Earth not as a hero, but as a messenger. He carried no weapons, no alien armies, no threats. Only a story. A story of blood given freely, of memory preserved, of one man who saved a girl and received something no human had ever touched before. A second chance for everyone.